We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The single roll call will show 2 members absent this evening. That would be Mr. Roth and Ms. Joanne Maloney are at prior commitments. So we have an agenda in front of us. Mr. Mayak, are there any additions or corrections?
No, there's not.
Would entertain a motion to approve.
So, second.
Motion made by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Mueller to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any public comments this evening that we would like to bring before the board? Hearing none, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Mayak, please.
Thank you. I just have 3 quick items I want to bring to your attention and report out. First, the state MASA conference is next weekend. That's a Sunday through Tuesday conference, so I'll be attending that to go to the district Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday. So there is a law conference that I'm attending this week on Thursday as well. That's up in the metro area. So again, just for your information. Second, our committee calendar, I've had that in our updates here the last couple of times, and just wanted to make sure with the proposals, I put on there the proposal for buildings and grounds, that committee would meet monthly, the first Wednesday of each month. Then transportation, school activities, and then the policy committee, actually I didn't have listed on there, that we would set up a quarterly schedule on those committees. Our paraprofessional union, our AFSCME union, and our certified staff union would meet as needed. And then meet and confer in our health and safety committee. We would have that as to be determined and not any proposals on those meetings as of yet. So if everyone's good with that and seeing that in the newsletter, I'll move forward with some invites. If there's conflicts or better times or dates, just let me know after the meeting. And then lastly, I put a sheet of paper on your table, just the sample influenza-like illness report at our COVID-19, our COVID planning team meeting. We talked about the threshold for COVID and then also talked about the threshold that we have for other illnesses. And this is a document that our nurse, Carrie Petzinger, shared with me. Kind of the standard, the sample of what's used across the state. And we would take this document then and add that little note that I have on the bottom that when we meet this threshold, we'd consult with the state and or local public health department to determine a course of action. And what happens at this again is when we hit those numbers that are indicated on this form, we notify or Carrie would notify the state, and then they would provide some documentation or some plan of action, plan of course, on how to proceed forward. So that's what we're looking at, and kind of taking what was already in place and adding COVID to that list.
So this will be used for influenza and COVID?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And that's the 3 things I had on my list to discuss today.
Questions for Mr. Mayak this evening? With that, we will move into the board member comments. Does any board member have anything they would like to bring forth this evening? Just a couple things that I would like to mention. I would like to thank the staff and the community for their support through the COVID situations that we've been working through. Very controversial subject, but I can honestly say I hope the rest of you board members have experienced the same support, and I think people are being very realistic on their concerns if they have them, but I want that to be acknowledged again from the staff and the community themselves. Students, we appreciate the support working through that tough tough subject. One other thing that really has hit me lately, and we'll hear more in the coming months, but we've had some extremely generous donations to the school district, one being about the sign out there, and there will be more following on that, but other, it's very humbling to see how people are stepping forward to contribute to our school district. So great thanks to those people, and more to come on the follow-up of that.
Excuse me, Rick, we want, on number 6 on the agenda, it does also include the principal and our head of our cabinet. Do you wanna put that in number 10? Reports, or can we go back and?
Ooh, let's brush on that now. I wasn't sure if we wanted to have that
Yeah.
in here now, but I didn't mean to jump ahead.
That's fine.
But if we have something there, we will definitely take them now,
Okay.
if we could, please.
Yeah, let's do that, thank you.
All right, well, with me being here, I'm just gonna speak to some of my points. Just looking back at the last board meeting, we had a lot has happened since then. We had a great 2 days with new staff on I believe it was the 23rd and 24th of August, and then we had workshop week the following week. At the elementary, our first day of school, we call it day 1, where we invite families in to come in and meet with the teachers and kind of go through some of the beginning of the year things. With COVID, we did an in-person opportunity, we also did a virtual opportunity, and then a phone call to kind of try to meet everybody's needs. And according to my math, we had about 96% attendance at the elementary, so that was great. Last week, I was able to visit every single classroom. As the new elementary principal, I wanted to get in and introduce myself, share a little bit of information about me and what's important to me with all of our students, and then also the kids had a chance to ask me some questions. So a lot of the kids, found out what my favorite foods were, found out what my favorite color was, found out what my favorite thing to do in my free time was. So, but it's interesting after those visits how many more kids are giving you high fives and knuckles in the hall. So it's a lot of fun to spend time with the kids that way. The last week or so, we've been really busy with our benchmarking and STAR assessments, and then Mara's going to be getting into some data digs with our staff next week based on what we're finding out with those assessments. We had a big meeting last week to start planning for homecoming for next week. Mike mentioned a couple of his professional development things. I will be up in northern Minnesota at a MESPA leadership conference the 3rd and the 4th of October. And then I have my school law seminar on the 18th of October. Fire Prevention Week. Sean Larson over at the secondary, he is teaming up with our elementary teachers again to provide that opportunity on the 13th of October to have the kids come down to the fire hall and go through some different things with them there. And then the last thing I had is we are moving forward with our 5th grade Eagle Bluff trip for the 18th through the 20th of October. Eagle Bluff has their particular COVID protocols that they are following through with, and we felt comfortable that since our kids will be staying in their normal classes, that if the need arose, we still could do our normal contact tracing as we would if they were in the building. So those are the topics I had. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bunn was out of the district today, and so Mr. Bunn submitted the presentation for the board. If you had a chance to look at that, if you have any questions, we can try to answer them. If not, we can contact Mr. Bunn in the future. His information is presented.
Teaching and Learning Coordinator. Welcome.
Well, first of all, yeah, thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity. I wasn't sure what the protocol was for having slides, or just wanted me to talk. So if it's easier to have things linked, I can do that for you as well, but I wanted to share as much as I could. So today I just had some quick notes of what I've been doing. So that second slide is just kind of an array of things we've been working on, but one thing I did want to point out was the on slide 2, the benchmarking and data that Nick mentioned. because that is how we will utilize the interventionists that were added. So, especially at the secondary level. So we have STAR testing is just about complete for 6th grade. I sent out some kids that are missing due to various reasons, so we can get that finished up so we can start utilizing those interventionists at the secondary level as soon as possible. With that, we do have 6 EL students up from 2 last year. So that, while it's only 6 kids, it is a significant number for NRHEG now, so that's exciting. We'll be using some of that intervention staff at the secondary level, and then should that number continue, we'll look into additional programming. Right now, we're kind of building that solid foundation so that if that population continues to increase, we're ready for it. And then slide 3, I just have kind of what's on the docket for the next month. So continue and or prioritize partnering with Nick and Dave to be focusing more on that instructional leadership and getting that into our schools. Continue to visit current staff, especially new staff, to make sure that they are being supported and we can keep them within the district. Again, the English language learner identification, there's a lot of questions since it's something that's a little bit new for us. So there's questions from staff, there's questions on identification. And so just getting that information to staff and making sure that we're ready for the students that are already in our seats. And of course, sharing and learning the responsibilities of the district assessment coordinator position, which is shared then between Melissa Harmoning and myself. So there's a few trainings that will need to be completed together. So just deciding what's her and what is mine and how we work together. And then the last slide is just a question for you to think about and reflect on, looking at that district goal of equity and looking at the superintendent's performance goal to match. As you think about public perception and what being transparent with the public and working together with the public and working for the public, what might be important for you to see on that district curriculum page? Right now it's blank, but how much do you want to be there? What would you like to be there? And then anything that I can do to help you ensure that goal is met, especially with it being goal number 4, so it gets pushed down a little bit. So just a question for reflection, and any ideas that you might have would be amazing.
Thank you.
Mara, can you share your slide presentation with us and I don't have to write that whole question down?
Oh yeah.
If you can share that with the board, that would be nice.
Like the actual Google slide presentation? Yeah. Yep. It's connected to your agenda.
Oh, is it connected?
I think you can get in.
Oh, never mind.
You good?
I didn't click on that.
Yeah, I know it's, the one in there is a PDF, so.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry. Apologize.
Last
It's
but not-
only 3 lines, but it's a pretty lofty goal, so.
Miss Whiteside, Community Education Director, welcome.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna wander up here so I can actually see. All right, so if some of you may remember, a little over 2 years ago, I had done a presentation on the implementation of a school-age child care program into our district, and I just wanted to give you guys an update on how things have been going the last 2 years, basically, with that program. You want to slide down? I already jumped ahead. All right, so I wanted to start with just giving you guys some numbers so you can kind of know exactly where we've been at. The fall and winter registration after I had gotten approval for the program, we ended up with 35 total children between Ellendale and New Richland. At that time, I had tried to start a preschool wraparound program. It did not have enough kids to run. We actually ended up only with 8 families interested in that particular age group for care. I'd like to contribute that to at July, August, September, most families already have daycare pre-planned and what they're going to do for that. And it's a brand new program, so a lot of times parents just want to kind of sit back and see how things go. So then that spring of 2020, we all know what happened, COVID hit. So it was very interesting, just the ups and downs with everything. We had stuck with with the amount of participants that we had in it, but a lot of families, pulled their children out. It kind of depended upon, how late we were open, because at one point we were, closed at 4:30. It was what it was. So then that following summer that we were open, we opened registrations in both buildings, and we didn't have as great a need in the Ellendale building here as we did over in New Richland, so we just decided to condense it down into one location. We ended up doing the program over in New Richland. We ended up with 21 total kids in that program over there. I would say probably the average amount, even though 21 people registered, a lot of families register as drop-in, just in case the parents were going somewhere, they had an appointment, or their current daycare providers were closed down for the day. They used us as backup. I would say on average we probably had close to anywhere from probably 12 to 17, 18 kids per day in that program, or during that summer. And then that fall, we had a total of 31 kids registered, and that's when I believe we started our school year in the hybrid model. So I was somewhat pleased with that amount of registration, but again, we actually had only about 16 kids attending every day. And that in both sites, it's not the amount of registrations that we wanted, but we did stay open in both locations for the convenience and practicality of those families needing care. And at that time, we did run our no more hours from 6:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. And then the following spring, it was about the same. And then fast forward to this last summer, as far as the school age care program is concerned, we had 33 total kids registered in New Richland. Again, we opened up registrations in both Ellendale and New Richland, and found that New Richland had more kids that needed to participate down towards that area. So we just went ahead and did it there, and we had, it was probably about a total of like 4 or 5 kids from the Ellendale area that were needing care, but because of the drive that they would have had to take to New Richland, they decided to try to find daycare elsewhere. And back up a little bit. So then this fall and winter going ahead, we ended up with a total of 22 kids. We have on average about 10 in New Richland and 12 in Ellendale, and that's for our school age care kids, so that's the bridges through 5th grade. And our preschool kids, I'm actually pleasantly surprised by the amount of kids we have there. We have about 12 total preschoolers, 10 are with us on a regular basis. So we have a total of about 30 kids right now for this fall and winter round of registrations. And we did have 4 3-year-olds who expressed, whose parents expressed interest in being a part of our program as well. But as you would recall, about those 2 years ago, we weren't exactly sure where we wanted to have the ages for the school age care program. So we were approved for the 4-year-old program up through 5th grade. So what we have found by actually living this experience now, our daily schedule is pretty much the same. Morning care and after school care in both locations. We open at 6:30 in the morning in New Richland and Ellendale. In Ellendale, the kids leave the morning class here about 8 o'clock. And then over in New Richland, they leave about 7:45 to hop on that shuttle bus to come over here. And then after school again, New Richland at 3:05, the kids that are going to the New Richland SAC program, they leave to head over to New Richland. They get there about 3:25. And then in this building, we start our school age care program right at 3 o'clock. And when the kids get there, there's snack times, there's craft, different activities, lots of play time for the kids to do, just kind of unwind for the rest of the day. And then for our preschool schedule, I'm sure you guys have looked at that already, so I'm not gonna outline the whole thing. But we try to mimic the preschool schedule to look a lot like what a child would see in kindergarten during the school day. There's various different activities for them to do throughout the day. Crafts, activities, gym time, eating lunch. The only thing that's a little different up there is that we found out we had to eat lunch in the preschool classroom at about 11:05, 11:10, just because there wasn't the amount of space that we needed in the lower commons or the upper commons over at the secondary school. And that's actually been working out really well. We're able to isolate those kids a little bit better, still due to COVID, and it gives them more of a familiar, little quieter environment for them too. So we'll probably keep doing that in the future, even if space opens up in the commons. So after looking back over the entire program, the needs that we have addressed, we have in fact offered more additional daycare opportunities to those families who may have been without care in our area. And this is helping us increase our overall enrollment through the convenience of a school-age care program. If parents need care anytime from 6:30 in the morning, the kids go to school, 6 o'clock at night, we're here to help them. We get the kids back and forth where they need to go throughout the day. And the same thing goes with our preschool program as well. The kids hang out and do activities with us in the morning. They go to preschool that afternoon, they come back when they're done and they finish out their days with us. It has increased revenue somewhat so far for the school-age child care program. The first year was not all that great. The second year that we were up and running, there's definitely some a revenue increase with the school-age care program. So we look at, just keeping on providing all the opportunities that we can to allow families to enroll with us, to keep increasing participation in that program, which also in the long run helps us increase future participation in community ed classes, because parents are seeing the convenience factor in it. We're getting them into the building. They are, part of community ed. They're more part of the school district. They have a better overall impression of everything, and it helps just get the word out and have them register for other community ed activities as well. Some of the needs that we still need to address are the world's best workforce goal of increasing Panther preschool attendance in our 3 and 4-year-old program. I think that's always going to be a goal of ours, just to get these kiddos in our door in order to provide them the preschool experience that they need to get them ready for kindergarten. And a part of that is just keeping up with the convenience factor of everything. It would be a lot better if we were able to have a school-age care program in this building, but at this time it's just not feasible. We need at least 6 kids with us, registered with us throughout the day in order to be at a break-even cost. And then just helping parents with transportation difficulties. With the 3-year-old program, we still need to try to figure out exactly what we're going to do, because we have 2 kids that we had to become very creative. Carla helped try to figure out how exactly we're going to get these kids back and forth to preschool, because unfortunately their parents were in a position where if we weren't able to help them out somewhat, they would have not registered their kids in preschool at all. And we have 2 kids, one actually from Albert Lee and one from Clark's Grove, that they went to preschool and daycare way outside of our district. And because we started a school-age care program, they're actually able to switch their entire preschool experience and daycare into our district. So just those small stories like that, even though they are small right now, help a lot in bringing our families back into our community and making us more convenient than outside school districts, hopefully. One thing that we do need to watch with school-age care is that because we are a fee-based program, we have to make sure that we always have enough kids in attendance in order to keep running. We have a very small preschool 3-year-old enrollment right now, and it makes me a little concerned what next year is going to look like if we do continue the 4-year-old wraparound program, which I'm hoping we will, just what those attendance numbers will look like. But I'm hoping by having the amount of kids in there that we do right now, it'll just keep increasing the numbers, because I really don't have a baseline to start from with this program because we started, COVID hit, and now we're almost starting all over again. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what that looks like going forward. And as far as the school age care standards and the Department of Human Services go, we are actually able to allow children 33 months to kindergarten in a wraparound program, as long as we keep the ratio at 1 to 10 for the littler kids, and then 1 to 15 for the older, like bridges through 5th grade, that's a 1 to 15 ratio. 1 to 10 for the 3 and 4 year olds with a max group size of 20 children total. And I really don't foresee a school age care program in either location getting above 20 children. It would be excellent if it did, but we're, you know, a smaller school district. So right now we are currently approved for those children who are 4 years old entering into our program for the wraparound program. I would like you guys to consider possibly allowing us to open it up to 3-year-olds, because I did have a few parents contact me asking me or just expressing their desire to get their 3-year-olds into our program for the convenience factor of their daily lives. So in the future, that would be fantastic. Now it would be fantastic, but I just wanted to let you guys know exactly where our school age care program is at and where I see it going. I actually wrote this one down, so I was doing some research and about some other school districts and what they're currently offering right now. Waseca has their wraparound program 33 months to 5 years old. Tri-City actually starts their wraparound program at 3.5 years old. Mankato has a voluntary pre-kindergarten, and they provide busing everywhere. Albert Lee does 3 and 4 year old wraparound care, and they actually do an infant and toddler daycare down at their school too, and so does Blue Earth. So if we had more space in this building, that might be next on my agenda to try to solve some more potential daycare issues from our families to keep trying to make us a school district of choice. So, are there any questions about the school age care program?
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Macy.
All right, now, number 8, the next regular meeting is scheduled for Monday, October 18th at the secondary school back in Richland, 6:30. Takes us up to the consent agenda items, and Mr. Mayak, would you introduce those, please?
Yeah, for the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background materials on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. So if a board member wants to discuss any item, it will be pulled out of the consent agenda and then it will be voted on separately. With that, please recognize the donations as follows. The Ellendale United Methodist Church donating school supplies. 3 of our 6th graders, Midake Gushwa, Brene Ingvoldsen, and Bodie Newgard with school supplies. Finley's Wings at Work, elementary classroom supplies of $2,000. Finley's Wings at Work for preschool classroom supplies at $1,300. Finley's Wings at Work cookies for Santa event at $700. Our new Richland Farm and City Days for our community ed cheer team, a $200 donation. And the City of Geneva for our community ed youth rec t-ball, a $500 donation, bringing the total to $4,700 for this month and $9,325 year to date. And with that, if we would please approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Schoenrock to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to number 10, the reports. Is there anything there, Mr. Mayak, that
No,
we can
nothing
cover?
under the
All
report
right,
section.
thank you. Then we'll move into recommended actions. The maximum levy authority for 2021 payable 2022. Mr. Mayak, please.
Yeah, so Carla Christopherson will provide a brief overview of the preliminary levy for the 2021 payable 2022. The board will be asked to certify the maximum levy authority for 2021 payable 2022. The Minnesota Department of Ed Levy Limitation and Certification 2021 payable 2022 data reports is included in your board packet. Ms. Christopherson?
So for those of you that had studied it previous to today, we apologize, but the state came out with a new report dated yesterday, so Sunday. Probably during the Vikings game. But, so Sue switched, so this is the most current report as of today. And if you recall, at this meeting, we always just end up approving maximum. And this has been a really good example this year. I have never had so many emails of problems with their calculations of calculating the levy. So,
They meaning the state.
I'm sorry, they meaning the state, out of our hands. And, so for those of you that had looked at the report, the initial report said, we were looking at an increase of 2.38. Today's report, which is more accurate and up to date, shows, still under 4.5, but 4.42. Nothing really unusual to report. If you look back at page 1, and again, you guys never appreciate property values, so if you just look at one page, the referendum market value, it's in the middle column, the second section down, pretty significant increase for our area. So as Michael Hart, who we're working with now from PMA, goes through and reviews these things for us, he felt the main reason for the increase in the general levy is related to the increasing referendum market value of the district. As this value rises, the district receives less aid on the formulas for our local optional revenue, our equity, and our transition revenue. So less aid from the state, more from the taxpayers. Okay, so that's just one example of an increase in a levy that you guys didn't choose, have any control over, decide on. So again, that's where we are today. You normally would approve then, at this point, the maximum levy. We log in after the meeting, Mike lets the state know to plan on us wanting maximum levy. Terry signs off on that and we go. And then we'll come back in December and we'll approve a true dollar amount. So any questions?
You had talked at the beginning about 2.38,
Right,
and that was our projected
that was what they put
yearly,
out,
annually increase. Then you went
And
to
then they corrected.
442.
Then they corrected the reports multiple times in the most,
So is the 442 over a 2-year span, I assume?
no,
Or
that's
for-
just the levy
Okay,
increase for
gotcha.
1 year.
Okay.
And that's what's
Yeah,
attached
okay.
to your agenda,
Gotcha.
if you wanna go down it,
So
again, it's
2.38
page
is the
30
total.
where it summarizes last
Okay.
year's, so when I get these, I always go right to page 30, and that, yeah, that shows the breakdown of general, community service. Again, like community ed, over the years, we've started a few new levies as Macy's built programs. We did nothing different, there was still just a $1,000 increase, again, just based on formula.
Okay. Any other questions for Carla?
So Carla, in the past, I know you always approve the maximum levy because you can go down, you can't go up after this. But in the past, what percent of the maximum levy have we ended up at?
So, the maximum allows for one, corrections, calculations, and new information they get. It also allows for a November referendum, which we do not have on the books.
Right.
Yeah, so typically come December, we approve the dollar amount that's suggested. We typically, at that point, we can't over levy. We could choose to under levy. But tonight, all we're saying is we wanna approve the maximum that's allowed and then in December we'll tell you what it really is.
But my question is, when December, in the past couple of years, how much have we varied from the maximum level levy that has been,
You've never chosen to under levy, it would just be
It's always
if a
been that maximum
calculation
levy,
changed
right.
at the state.
In my 15 years, we have never,
it's never been less than?
and our logic to that is, if I may on this, I don't mean
Right,
to
no, go ahead.
anything under maximum levy, the savings to the individual taxpayer throughout the district would be very minute when you divide that out over the course of that. And we've always had the feeling that that is our opportunity to provide services back to our students and educate. So, and we've never had an abundance of funding anyway, we've always felt shorted by the state, and so we've never been in that scenario to say, thanks taxpayers, but we can't use it all. And if that kind of gives you a little explanation of that. So in my years here, we have never gone under the maximum of what we're allowed at the
Okay.
local level.
Okay, thank you.
Good question though, because it's hard to digest. There's a lot of numbers, and I applaud Carla for the people involved for understanding it. But if we kind of keep that concept in the back of our minds, that maximum is the place we want to probably end up. So, and the percent increase again would be around 4%, right?
Right,
To the average taxpayer,
right.
depending on, which isn't ridiculous. You catch some of those news articles on cities and different governments that are double-digit increases, so hopefully 4% increase with the local taxpayer is palatable. Anyone else? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the maximum levy authority for 2021 payable 22.
Also move. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schoenrock, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the maximum levy authority for 21 payable 22 as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Time of year again that we need to establish our truth in taxation hearing date. Mr. Mayak, would you like to introduce that, please?
Yeah, this meeting is scheduled for December 20th, 2021, 6 p.m. at the Secondary Media Center.
And that will fall in line with our December regular meeting, correct? As
Correct.
in the past. Motion to approve that if you're comfortable with it?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Mueller to approve the truth in taxation hearing date, December 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Secondary Media Center. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'd like to discuss the substitute rates for 21-22. Mr. Mayak, please.
Yeah, again, on the information presented, that the board will be asked to approve the adjustment in the substitute rates for our teachers, our paras, our food service, custodial, health office, and clerical, as presented on the information presented, or submitted.
We've seen a little bit larger increase on that, Mr. Mayak, than, I mean, just because of the atmosphere.
A little bit, I think more, the thing that's a little bit different would be the, kind of the tiered with the teacher. If,
Sure.
the more they're coming into our district, the more days that they're subbing in our district, they'll have an increase. And we're looking at 36 weeks, and we kind of split it off that way. So if they're coming in roughly once every other week, will that be at the base pay? If they're coming in up to weekly, they would have that second rate, the $130 a day. And if they're coming in more on average than once a week, again, the appreciation that we have in filling the needs for the sub and whatnot is compensated with another $20 over the proposed base substitute pay. for our certified staff.
Good.
Very comparative to local districts in the area.
Any other questions? Would entertain a motion?
Make a motion to, approve the substitute rates.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Engel, seconded by Mr. Schoenrock to approve the substitute rates for 21-22 as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are happy to bring before you this evening the teacher master agreement. Mr. Mayak?
Yeah, I agree, and 4 of these categories here. We're excited to have the agreement to bring to the board for approval. Thank you to our teacher team and our district negotiation team on concluding the process in such a timely manner. With that, I'm asking the board to approve the teacher master agreement as tentatively agreed upon by the Teachers Association and the board negotiation team.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Mueller to approve the teacher master agreement as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We also have the principal contracts this evening, Mr. Mayak.
Yeah, our second happy spot here is to recommend to you the approval of the principal's contract. The principals agreed to the same total package increase as the Teachers Association. Thank you to Dave and Nick for their negotiations, and I'm asking the board to approve the principal's master agreement for the 2021-2023 school years.
I move to, accept the principal contract.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Engel, seconded by Mr. Schoenrock to approve the principal contracts as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Grant writing and communications, Mr. Mayak.
Third on our list, again, I'm asking the board to approve the additional responsibilities and the corresponding compensation for our community ed director, Macy Whiteside, to include grant writing and public communications. Macy was a part-time community ed coordinator, and by adding these responsibilities, she'll serve the district in a full-time capacity, and ESSER funds are used to cover the majority of this increase.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Ms. Engel to approve the grant writing and communications contract as presented. If I could you brush on that a little bit, Mr. Mayak, on when you talk about that communications portion of that, what do you kind of see that as some of the highlights of that additional? I mean, is that going to be social media type
Yes.
work, or
Yes,
where are you kind of directing that?
It would include social media and a broad spectrum of other things. In our, Carla and I sat in an ESSER meeting and a form application webinar, and the loudest message that I heard and took out of that was family engagement, and family engagement, to make sure that the families, the students, the community has that opportunity to be informed, to have the proper communication, have chances to come into our buildings and be involved. So Macy would take that, again, throw communication out there, having that information available, but also having opportunities for families to be involved and participating and engaged in what's taking place within the district.
Great.
So social media will definitely be a big part of it,
Sure.
and getting all the positives out there, but it will definitely encompass more than that.
We've waited a long time as a district. I think all of the board members here can agree that we've witnessed that as an area of concern, and we're excited, Macy, to see you move forward with that and watch that develop. So great to have you accept that assignment, and we're excited to see the work you do. So
Thank you.
we'll be watching.
And she's got a couple grants too that she's submitted, at least one,
Great.
and working on at least
Excellent.
1 or 2 more.
Yep, three right now.
3 of them, so.
Well, thank you again for your good work there. I'm I'm excited to see that come together, so.
Thank you.
We have the motion and the second, so I will call for a vote on that. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bus van driver salary schedule. Mr. Mack?
Yeah, finally, I recommended the board to approve the salary schedule for our transportation staff members. The agreement is also based on the percentage increase, the total package increase that the teachers and the principals agreed upon.
And if I recall accurately, there was one route that was kind of condensed into or absorbed by the other drivers. Is that accurate?
Yes, at the Ellendale site.
So there was a
Yep.
savings in the transportation bill
Correct.
that allowed us to adjust for some of this increase here then too. Is there a motion for the bus and van driver salary schedule?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the bus and van driver salary schedule as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have our board 21-22 goals. Mr. Matt?
Yeah, the board goals as well as the superintendent goals have been presented to the board members with some explanation and some additional details. We will post these on our district website, and I'm asking for the board to approve the goals as presented.
I make a motion to approve the goals as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Engel, seconded by Mr. Schoenrock to approve the board goals as presented. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to the conclusion of our meeting this evening, and with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Or do you want to second it?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. Motion made by Mr. Schoenrock, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.